All right, welcome. This is DB talking now, DB talking birds, DB talking Philadelphia Eagles. Huge news: the Philadelphia Eagles have hired Indianapolis Colts offensive coordinator Nick Sirianni to be their next head coach. Now, this is not a name that I talked a lot about during my streams. As far as during the head coaching search, but it was one of those ones that did kind of start to appear earlier in the week. I think there were reports about it that started on Monday, and then today is the day that it did come to fruition. So I think that they found their guy. I think they feel confident in their guy, and I'm really excited. I'm really excited about this hire and Nick Sirianni. He's a young guy. He's 39 years old. So he kind of brings that sort of Sean McVay sort of feel to this coaching staff. And the other thing too, as I mentioned in previous streams, I was wavering on Josh McDaniels big time, and I couldn't pinpoint why. I had a few thoughts, but there was just something about Josh McDaniels that I just did not feel confident about. So I'm glad that they went with Nick Sirianni over Josh McDaniels. Now, obviously, coming from the Colts, he's coming from that Frank Reich tree. Now, obviously, the last time that Frank Reich had his hands in Philadelphia was that phenomenal 2017 season where Carson Wentz absolutely blew up the NFL world. And so my hope is that Nick Sirianni brings some of those passing concepts, some of those play calling concepts back into the world of Philadelphia. And that's going to be key. That's going to be really key. The other thing that's going to be really key is Carson Wentz and Nick Sirianni need to get along right away. Those two need to build an instant rapport right away. Now, obviously, there's going to be some upcoming updates. Obviously, so we're going to be kind of on the clock as we go along here, especially over the next 24 to 48 hours. Nick Sirianni is going to have to bring in his own staff. We do not know the fate of Deuce Staley. I don't think Deuce Staley is really going anywhere, but we are going to have to see what Nick Sirianni decides to do, because I expect him to just jettison Press Taylor the hell out of Philadelphia. We do not want Press Taylor anywhere near Carson Wentz anymore. Well, now that we have Nick Sirianni hired as the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, super, super excited. Seems like a really great guy. Seems like he brings a lot of command to his players. There's a mic'd up, there's a video of Nick Sirianni mic'd up on NFL.com that you can go ahead and find. That is absolutely phenomenal. I'll try and find that link and put it and put it in the box below for you guys to go ahead and watch. But the one thing I wanted to address for the final time before we move forward here is the evaluation of the Doug Peterson downfall. I'm going to address this now because it has nothing to do with Carson Wentz. The final decision had nothing to do with Carson Wentz. Doug Peterson was ultimately fired because he lacked innovation, he lacked creativity, and he lacked the ability to command his troops when times got tough. When times called for innovation and creativity and command, he was unable to exude those attributes and give us those things. Now, there was a little bit of creativity and innovation here and there once Jalen Hurts came into the fold, but it really wasn't anything other than the fact that Jalen Hurts is just a little bit more mobile than Carson Wentz. And so for that reason, that is why Doug Peterson was fired. That is why Doug Peterson was fired. And so now we can move on. Because I expect Nick Sirianni to bring in innovation, creativity, a little bit more command. He's a youthful guy, so I think he's going to relate well with his players. I'm excited. I'm excited about this. I really am. During the final hours, especially going into last night, I did not do a stream yesterday, but I was starting. Nick Sirianni started to become my dark horse candidate that I kind of wanted at head coach. I was warming up to Dennis Allen, and Nick Sirianni, was taking that top position in my head coaching candidate board. So I'm glad that they went with him. Now I'm just absolutely excited to see what they do as far as who is his defense coordinator going to be, who is the linebackers coach going to be, who are we going to get for the defensive backs coach, what are we going to do for the quarterbacks coach? Are we going to have all these other assistants? I don't think so. I don't think we're going to have a crazy amount of assistance like we did last year. It was just absolutely insane. And that was the start of, it wasn't the start of the dysfunction. The start of the dysfunction was when Doug Peterson got upset that we didn't bring back Mike Groh. I mean, I don't know why. I mean, Mike Groh was, everybody absolutely hated Mike Groh. Anyway, moving on. I don't expect there to be dysfunction going forward. I have to credit Jeffrey Lurie. The reason why I'm going to credit Jeffrey Lurie is because he had every right to take his time. The other five open head coaching vacancies kind of went off the board pretty much within the first week. And then the only two teams that were left open were the Texans and the Eagles, and the Texans were not becoming the attractive destination for head coaches due to the Deshaun Watson situation. And so the Eagles had every single right to take their time. But in Jeffrey Lurie fashion, it is known that he does take about 2 weeks to conduct and conclude his coaching searches. So that's pretty much exactly what happened. And I'm glad that it didn't end in a Josh McDaniels sort of union because nobody really felt good about him. And if there was somebody that felt good about him, they were saying, "Oh, he does this, but Denver, Indianapolis, So I'm excited. I'm excited about Nick Sirianni. We will have to see. The other main important thing, obviously, is going to be, what is he going to do with the quarterback situation? Obviously, he presented a thorough and really well thought out plan to Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman and Don Smolensky when he did his interview. And so I'm sure that he's got some solutions up his sleeve, and I'm just excited for them to get to work. Honestly, I'm excited for them to get to work. How well is he going to get along with Carson? And as I said prior, that's going to be key. Carson and Nick Sirianni need to attempt to establish immediate rapport, and we're just gonna have to see how that unfolds. And I do want to address that as well. I feel like Carson Wentz has gotten a ton of flack, unnecessary. I mean, look, yeah, he didn't play well. He hasn't played well. We had the character assassination reports that came out about him, obviously, but publicly he did nothing but support his teammates. Publicly he did nothing but take the blame. Publicly he did nothing but be the right guy. for this organization. Publicly, he did nothing but give you what a franchise quarterback is supposed to give you. So if all these other things are being said behind closed doors, publicly is what we can prove. So I think Carson Wentz is getting so much more flack. So I have hope. I have hope that these guys are gonna get along well. I really, really do. I really, really do. You know, and the one thing about Indianapolis, you know, for Nick Sirianni coming from Indianapolis, is the first thing that they did is they got better up front on the offensive line. So just to transition into the draft for a hot second real quick, because we're going to leave the more in-depth draft conversations for a later date, but just to transition into the draft real quick, if the offensive tackle Sewell is still on the board at 6, and he probably won't be, but if he is, you draft Sewell at 6. You draft Sewell at 6. You do. It's just you go for it. And if not, and probably not, and he won't. You know, obviously the Indianapolis Colts had some speedsters who could get it done. Now, obviously, you know, I'm talking about the likes of a T.Y. Hilton, and we could be looking at a Devontae Smith to fill out that role. But I expect Nick Sirianni to find better use for Quez Watkins. I expect Nick Sirianni to find better use for a John Hightower, who showed us flashes this past season. He really did. He showed us flashes. Look, if the guy can get open, the guy can get open deep, and his issue is just catching the ball, then make sure he just fucking catches the ball. Make sure he gets better at catching the ball. That's the other thing. There were so many things that could have been corrected that started week 1 and that lasted all the way until week 17 that just weren't corrected. And I expect those things to get corrected with a Nick Sirianni and whoever he's going to bring in with this news with the new staff. So we'll have to see. I wonder if they're still looking at Gerard Mayo to bring in Gerard Mayo. See, that's the thing here. That's the interesting thing about this entire head coaching search is I think that there was a little bit of Jeffrey Lurie and Harry Roseman just wanting to talk to you guys just to get some ideas of how to move forward and what they think about their team. You know, it was pretty, it's pretty important to get the opinion of a Dennis Allen and what he thinks of your team and how he thinks that he could fix how he thinks he could fix the defense. It was important to get the opinion and ideas from Gerard Mayo. Gerard Mayo reportedly, and just listening to Adam Kaplan and Jeff Mosher on Inside the Birds, from what they're hearing from around the league, is he's a smart guy. He's a really smart guy. So I think he's at the top of my defense coordinator list. I want to see them promote linebackers coach Gerard Mayo and bring him over from New England to be the defense coordinator. I think that would be absolutely phenomenal. I really do. I think that would be absolutely phenomenal. Because some of the head coaching, some of the candidates that the Eagles were interviewing, in the wee hours, just weren't making any sense. The special teams coordinator from Dallas, it just wasn't adding up. So there are some reports of some guys that the Eagles are or that Nick Sirianni is already interested in bringing over to be defense coordinator. So let me go ahead and bring that up for you right now. 1 second here. And who is the offensive coordinator? Is it going to be Deuce? Is Deuce going to stay around? Does Nick Sirianni promote Deuce Staley to offensive coordinator? Or, I wouldn't mind a Greg Roman. I really wouldn't. I wouldn't mind Greg Roman. I think he is already the offensive coordinator for Baltimore, though. So I think that one's shot. But Mike Kafka might be a name to watch. It's really interesting. It's really interesting how enamored they were with Mike Kafka to start the coaching search, and then all of a sudden decided to take their names off the board in the Mike Kafka sweepstakes. And there really isn't any sweepstakes going on right now. Now, Mike Kafka is the QB's coach. He is extraordinarily smart from everything that we're hearing. And so his transition to offensive coordinator could possibly be the right move. We would still get an Andy Reid guy. We would still get a guy coming over from Kansas City, some guy that has worked with Patrick Mahomes. And obviously, we all are very well aware of the innovation and the creativity that goes into creating that successful Kansas City Chiefs offense. So bringing over Mike Kafka as an offensive coordinator might not be a bad idea. It might not be a bad idea. And apparently Jonathan Gannon is a name to watch for the defensive coordinator position. That's what I'm hearing. Jonathan Gannon. So just to go in. So it looks like Jonathan Gannon would have been Josh McDaniels. That's kind of the rumor. Jonathan Gannon would have been Josh McDaniels' defensive coordinator in Philly if he became the head coach for us. So, and he apparently is getting a lot of heat right now, and is kind of red hot on the market. Does have some heat from Atlanta as well. So, so just to go into a little bit about Jonathan Gannon. Jonathan Gannon is the defensive backs and the cornerbacks coach for the Indianapolis Colts. So he is a guy that obviously with Nick Sirianni could bring him over to be the defense coordinator, which would be I would be completely open to. And Jonathan Gannon and the two of them together Jonathan Gannon could do a really good job at fixing that fixing the Eagles defense. Now the Colts defense has looked really good over the last few years. Obviously they've picked up some really good chess pieces in that secondary. Malik Hooker is one of them. And Darius Leonard is another. He's a linebacker. So I mean, they have some great pieces over there. So they know what it takes to build up a defense and to make it successful again. So I'm completely for this move. Jonathan Gannon sounds like would be a great hire for the Philadelphia Eagles. And then him coming from the defensive back second with a defensive back coach background could really help fix our defense. And it's not like we don't have pieces, right? We do have pieces. We do have a young. Look, I'm not gonna downplay our needs, okay? And I'm not gonna overplay, you know, I'm not going to overplay the potential of some of the players that we have, but I do want to talk about this. So, Alex Singleton did show a lot of promise over the season. He was probably the brightest spot on our defense last season, our brightest spot, and I think that if he can continue with that upswing that he's got, and he can carry that over and he can carry that momentum over into next season, that could be a really great thing for us. One, and also, I think Jonathan Gannon might be able to find better use for Darius Slay, because that will be obviously number one. Make sure that you can get your stars in the right position. Make sure that you're using your stars correctly so that you can address the other pieces on your defense. But that would be phenomenal. I like that. I like that list that I just came up with. I think Mike Kafka over from Kansas City to be offensive coordinator, Jonathan Gannon to be defensive coordinator, and I think the next choice is obviously going to be the quarterbacks coach, and I'm sure that he already has a staff in mind. He probably didn't go into that interview with Nick Siriani probably did not go into that interview with Jeffrey Lurie and Howard Roseman and Don Smolensky without a staff in mind. So, with that said, let's be excited, guys. Let's be excited. Let's be absolutely excited. This is DB Talking Now, DB Talking Birds, DB Talking Philadelphia Eagles. You guys have a beautiful evening. I probably will be back with you later in the day because I probably will have some more updates. I will definitely be with you tomorrow. DB Talking Now. You guys have a beautiful evening. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Go Birds, baby.